Clay, Stephen A. Smith is talking a lot about I love my job here at Disney and ESPN, but I think I might run for president at some point. But I'm not going to address that right now. With Donald Trump winning twice now, that's broken every glass ceiling of what we expect the presidency to be, right? Like a celebrity financier, didn't go the traditional route, won the presidency not once but twice and not in non-consecutive terms. So I can never say never. But I want to say never when it comes to Stephen A. Smith. Is that a mistake? Or what do you think about that possibility if he ran on the Democratic ticket?
Well, Buck made the argument. I think it's actually a really interesting one. Who has actually ended up in a worse spot running for president? And it actually is, you basically get way more famous. You probably are going to end up with way better options. Most people are going to lose, right? Can you think of somebody in the last 20 years who has run for president and they've come out of the election worse than they would have been if they had never gotten into politics in the first place? I mean, even people who are like, oh, Kamala Harris, she's a huge loser. I mean, she was the Democrat nominee for president. She's going to make tens of millions of dollars if she were to leave politics, right? She's way more famous now than she was before she lost. I'm not saying it's fun to lose, but you have to win a lot of races to end up the nominee. Typically, I know Kamala got elevated without winning any, but as a general rule. So, I would say this: if you're making $20 million a year, you've got a pretty good gig talking about sports. I'm skeptical that he's going to give up $20 million a year, because you would have to give up $20 million a year to run for president. But in terms of long range access, if he quit for 2 years to run for president, or 1 year, I don't think that ESPN's not going to allow him back on television. So I'm skeptical to do it, just because most people don't give up $20 million a year jobs to do anything other than the $20 million a year job. But that's not Stephen A. Smith in particular. It's just most people in general. Most people are not Donald Trump. They're not billionaires. And the billionaires that do run typically are mailbox billionaires, by which I mean they don't have to work for their living anymore. Does that make sense? I have to work for my living. I don't, just get millions of dollars in dividend checks coming in because I own a company and I can just step away from being chairman of a company for some period of time. Stephen A. gets paid for his labor. And most people who get paid for their labor don't give up a $20 million a year job for a $400,000 a year job very often.
Man, the way he communicates, articulates, I mean, we could go down the list here. And the way he debates. I think the ego of Stephen A. Smith would absolutely run for it, Clay, just personally. Watching the chat that you had about his history, I mean, where he's from, how he grew up, and the opportunity to run for president, that would blow my mind if I'm him.
Yeah, look, I mean, I wouldn't be astounded if he did it. He's got plenty of money. He puts his, dollars. But I mean, again, in general, most people who run are already in politics. But I do think the premise is accurate. I do think there's going to be a lot of people who throw their name in the hat that are independently wealthy, that are independently famous, because they saw what Trump did. I think what they are going to fail to see is that he's uniquely talented at that. It's actually pretty hard to do. Most people fall flat on their face when they try to do anything in the world of politics. But yeah, look, I think that there will be a lot of Democrats. I mean, The Rock, Mark Cuban, that are independently wealthy that could put themselves into that space because they saw what Trump did.
Clay, how would I'm just, this is a fantasy here in my mind of things that could be at some point. And you've always said you'd have to take a pay cut also in order to run for office. So you're not that interested in it right now. But what would a Stephen A. Smith, Clay Travis, or Clay Travis, Stephen A. Smith ticket look like? If you got two people from opposing viewpoints and you said, we're going to run as centrist as possible, whether it's Clay Travis leading a Republican ticket with Stephen A. Smith as the vice president, or Stephen A. Smith going pretty much down the middle, Democratic ticket, Clay Travis as his running mate, I would love to watch that play out and see how that would work. And you could take not just you two, but any two people that everyone in the American public would think are on opposing sides of something that team up to make America better?
Well, so first of all, I don't think the job would actually be that different for me, because you're basically just in the job of communicating your ideas to the public. And I do that for basically 4 hours every day. So the difference would be, instead of communicating the ideas on behalf of my individual self or on behalf of OutKick, I would be doing it on behalf of obviously running for political office. And I do think there's an advantage. I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that Trump is good at television and he had a hit television show. I don't think it's a coincidence that Ronald Reagan was a really skilled communicator. And prior to that, he had a really great acting career, right? As television and audio become even more prominent in the way that we communicate, there's always an avenue for people who are good communicators. I mean, I think I would win. I mean, I don't lack for confidence, as you guys well know. Right. But I think I would win any race that I ran in, whether it was, for governor of Tennessee or it was for the Senate, here. I've got plenty of money and I'm good at communication and I have good energy, to be able to run around and meet everybody. And I mean, you guys have walked around with me at football games in the state of Tennessee. I've got good name recognition and generally pretty favorable reactions.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think I would win. I don't think it would be that close.
Well, I mean, the ticket itself with the two of you and Stephen A. would win.
I think, look, I don't know how versed. I know myself because I talk about these topics every day. I am very well versed in whatever you have to talk about, right?
Sure.
I don't know how well versed Stephen A. Smith is in international trade policy or the criminal, the criminal justice system or analyzing Supreme Court justices. I don't really know what his opinion is on a lot of those things. So I don't know how well he would articulate them. I know what his opinion is on LeBron versus Jordan. He's a smart guy, but there's a difference in talking about international trade policy and who you think is going to win the Super Bowl.
Right. But if he stood up there and said, I'm anti-woke, which he is, that resonates.
Well, I think the advantage he would have, and this is why I think the Democrat candidate could be a non-traditional politician, is they're wrong on a lot, right? I mehave wrong on men competing in women's sports. They are wrong on just talking to normal dudes, right? They have lost what I would say is the average sports fan. And you can't win an election if the average sports fan doesn't like you. And so I think there is a desperate need for them to recalibrate. And I think the challenge that they're going to run into is a lot of them have said crazy things, like when Kamala said, hey, I'm support taxpayer funding for transgender, inmates, illegal immigrants. I think a lot of people were like, yeah, that's crazy. Well, she's on record having said it. Sometimes if your party has gone crazy, there is an advantage to not having said all the crazy stuff and supported it.